You are being watched, not in some abstract way, not in some metaphorical way. Every time you open a browser and type a question into Google, that query is logged, timestamped, attached to your account, cross-referenced with your device fingerprint, correlated with your location, and fed into a profile that Google sells access to. This is not a conspiracy. This is Google's actual advertised business model, published in its own transparency reports and in its own privacy disclosures. The average person runs between 3,000 and 4,000 Google searches a year. That is 4,000 data points per person per year, describing in brutal detail what you think about, what you're worried about, what you are buying, what you're sick with, who you are sleeping with, and where you are going. If that sentence made you uncomfortable, good. It should. I am going to walk you through 3 search engines that do not do any of that, that are ready to use today, and that in some cases will actually give you better results than Google does. This is not theory. This is practical. And it takes about 60 seconds to change. Let me start by explaining why this matters more than it used to, because the privacy conversation has evolved. For most of Google's history, the argument in favor of using Google search was simple. Yes, Google collected your data, but the results were better. The search was faster. The features were more useful. For years, that trade was defensible. Most people, when told that Google tracked their searches, shrugged and said, "The results are worth it. I get it." I made the same calculation for about 15 years. What has changed, starting around 2023 and accelerating through 2024 and 2025, is that the quality of Google's search results has measurably declined. This is not a subjective opinion. Multiple independent studies, including a widely cited paper from the University of Leipzig in 2023 and a follow-up in 2024, documented that Google's top results are increasingly dominated by SEO-optimized content farms, affiliate blog networks, and AI-generated noise. The top of the page is often paid placement. The bottom of the page is often junk. The middle, which used to be where you found the answer, has shrunk. Google's own response has been to add AI overviews, which synthesize answers from the web and show them at the top of the page, which, ironically, is drawing up traffic to the websites that produced the information in the first place. So Google's search quality is getting worse, and the ecosystem it depended on is eroding as a direct result of Google's own changes. Meanwhile, the tracking has gotten worse. Google now cross-references your search history against YouTube, against Gmail, against Maps, against Android, against Chrome, and against the Google accounts logged into your smart TV. The profile is more complete than it has ever been. And based on transparency reports published by Google itself, law enforcement requests for search history records have increased year over year for the last decade. Your searches are not only being mined for ad targeting, they're also potentially admissible evidence. That is a sentence I never thought I would say about typing questions into a search bar, but here we are. So the Google argument, the one that said, yes, it tracks, but the results are worth it, no longer holds. The results are no longer worth it, and the tracking is more comprehensive than ever. If you needed permission to leave, consider this it. The first alternative is DuckDuckGo. If you have heard of any privacy search engine, you have heard of this one. DuckDuckGo is based in Pennsylvania. It has been around since 2008. Its founder, Gabriel Weinberg, started it specifically because he was uncomfortable with the surveillance model of Google. DuckDuckGo does not store your search history. It does not attach queries to your IP address. It does not build a profile on you. What it does is aggregate results from multiple sources, including Bing, its own crawler, Wikipedia, and others, and present them cleanly. The interface is spare. The results are, for most common queries, indistinguishable from Google's top results minus the sponsored content and AI noise. DuckDuckGo's strength is also its weakness, because it pulls heavily from Bing. It shares Bing's blind spots. If you are searching for something very recent, breaking news from the last few hours, DuckDuckGo can feel a step behind. For regional or niche queries, it can miss things Google would find. For the 80% of queries most people run, it is excellent. For the other 20%, you occasionally find yourself reaching for something else. DuckDuckGo acknowledges this. It has a fallback feature called a bang, which lets you type .g in front of a query to route it to Google, .ow for Wikipedia, or .yt for YouTube. You get to decide when to use which engine. That kind of deliberate fallback is, honestly, a more honest relationship with search than blindly trusting one provider. DuckDuckGo also offers a browser extension, a mobile browser, and an email privacy service. It is building a small ecosystem of privacy-respecting tools. Not all of them are perfect, but the search engine is mature, stable, and a legitimate drop-in replacement for most people. The second alternative is Brave Search. Brave Search is newer, launched in 2021, but it has grown fast. The critical difference between Brave Search and DuckDuckGo is that Brave Search runs its own independent index. It is not pulling from Bing. It is not pulling from Google. When you search on Brave, you're searching an index built by Brave's own crawlers. That is a bigger deal than it sounds, because it means Brave Search is one of the only independent search engines left on the open web. Most alternatives you hear about, including DuckDuckGo and Ecosia, are repackagers of Bing with extra privacy. Brave is actually different infrastructure. What this means in practice is that Brave Search returns results that Google and Bing do not. Sometimes that is useful, sometimes it is annoying. The index is smaller, so for extremely niche queries you might get thinner results, but for mainstream searches, the results are surprisingly good. Brave also integrates an optional AI summarization feature called Answer with AI, which synthesizes information across sources, similar to Google's AI overviews, but without the tracking. It is off by default, which, given the privacy focus, feels right. Brave Search's business model is currently a mix of optional subscriptions and contextual ads, which, in contrast to surveillance ads, are based only on what you are searching at that moment, not on who you are. That is an important distinction. You are not being tracked across sessions. You are being shown an ad relevant to your current query, which is the way advertising used to work before surveillance capitalism became the default. Whether you like ads or not is a separate question. But contextual ads do not require building a profile. They require reading a query. The third alternative I want to talk about is Kagi. Kagi is different from the first two in one important way. It is paid. You cannot use Kagi for free beyond a small trial allowance. The basic plan is about $10 a month. The professional plan is about $25, which is a lot to spend on something most people have received for free their entire internet lives. But here is the argument. When a service is free, you are the product. When a service is paid, you are the customer. Kagi has no ads. Kagi has no trackers. Kagi has no secondary business model. The only way Kagi makes money is if its users pay for its service, which means the only metric Kagi cares about is giving you the best possible search result. That alignment of incentives, as basic as it sounds, does not exist on any ad-supported search engine, including Google. The quality of Kagi's results based on independent testing throughout 2024 and 2025 is generally considered the best of any search engine currently available. Kagi lets you personalize your results, including pinning domains you like and blocking domains you do not. You can block Pinterest permanently, you can block SEO junk sites, you can uprank sources you trust. After about a month of using it, Kagi's results genuinely become tailored to your preferences without ever tracking you across the web, because the personalization is stored locally to your account and not monetized. The argument for Kagi is straightforward. If you value your time, if you value clean results without ads, if you're tired of fighting through AI slop and affiliate blogs, paying a small monthly fee for a tool you use every day is economically a very reasonable trade. $10 a month is less than most people spend on coffee in a week. And unlike the coffee, you use the search engine dozens of times a day. Now, the practical part. How do you actually make the switch? In Chrome, Edge, Firefox, or any major browser, your default search engine is a setting. In Chrome, it is Settings, Search Engine, Manage Search Engines. In Firefox, it is Settings, Search. You can add DuckDuckGo, Brave Search, or Kagi as your default in under 60 seconds. Your address bar queries will automatically use the new engine. No other workflow change required. If you do not like it after a week, switch back. There is no commitment. What you will notice in the first few days is a strange sense of quiet. The results page looks simpler, the ads look less invasive, the AI noise is not there. You realize, slowly, how much you had been tuning out, and once you see it, you cannot unsee it. Here is the larger point. The web used to be open. Search used to be discovery. Somewhere between 2010 and 2020, that shifted. Search became an advertising platform first, and a discovery tool second. The people running these companies will tell you the two are aligned. They are not. The advertising model requires tracking. The advertising model requires personalization. The advertising model requires that you never leave, because every query you run anywhere else is a query Google cannot monetize. That is why Chrome defaults to Google. That is why Android defaults to Google. That is why when you log into a new device, the onboarding flow tries to bind you to a Google account before you have even opened a browser. The alternatives exist because a small number of people decided that model did not serve users. They built tools. They launched products. They sustained them through ad-free subscriptions, through lean operations, through a stubborn refusal to build surveillance infrastructure. And you can use those tools today for free or for the cost of a cup of coffee a month. The only thing standing between you and a better search experience is 60 seconds in your browser settings. Try one of the 3 engines I mentioned. Use it for a week. Notice what changes. If you want, come back and tell me how it went, because honestly, these conversations are better when they are conversations, not monologues. If this helped you understand the trade-offs, subscribe, because the next video in this series walks through private email providers, which is the other half of the surveillance puzzle most people are not thinking about yet. And before you go, here's the thought I want to leave you with. The internet you use is a choice. You keep making it every day, every search. Make it deliberately. Word count 2660.